السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So inshallah we'll continue in the topic about the superstars, right? And today we'll talk about Imam Hasan al-Basri. Very famous. He's among the, he's not Sahaba, but he lived during the Sahaba time. And he was very famous. He was a wise man, very intelligent, right? And people like to listen to him. Yeah. People mean everybody, whether it's the king or the regular people, love him so much. Yeah. And okay. Alia, is there Alia? Alia? Ali Rashad? Yeah. Amila?
Yes, he was one of the most renowned Tabi in the generation after the death of the Prophet, and prominent figures of his time. He was a jurist and a scholar. He was a pious and devout person. He was famous for his eloquence, inspiring speeches, wisdom, asceticism, and deep knowledge. He is the revered Tabi'i and the scholar of the people of Basra. Abu Sa'id al-Hasan ibn Abi al-Hasan ibn Yasir al-Basri.
Yeah. So if people said, who's the handsome one on the term? He is the handsome one. Who's the alim, the knowledgeable on the term? He is the most knowledgeable one. Who's the faqih, expert in the jurisprudence? He is. Who's the one who eloquence, good speaker, charismatic? Is Hasan Basri. So whatever field you mention, he is the master. That's how he is at the time. Yeah. So birth earlier. Yeah. Aisha. Nadia.
Yeah. Al-Hasan al-Basri was born in Al-Madinah in 21 AH, 642 AC, during the caliphate of the leader of the believers, Umar ibn al-Khattab. Both of his parents were slaves. His father became a prisoner of war when the Muslims conquered Nisan, an area between Basra and Wasit in Iraq. His father embraced Islam and lived in Al-Madinah, where he married a bondwoman called Khaira, who was the maid slave of Salam, the wife of the Prophet. The mother of the believers, Salama, had freed Khaira after she gave birth to her son Al-Hasan.
So, Hasan al-Basri is not from rich family or scholars, high class. No. His parent used to be a slave. Yeah. So that means we learn that to be a great man, you don't need to be that because your father was great. Yeah. And he was lucky when he was born. It's during the last of Umar bin Khattab. That means last year of Umar bin Khattab. Yeah. And his, his mother took him to Umar when he was maybe 5, 6 years old. Salama asked, Khairiyah to bring him to Umar and asked him to make dua for him. No. So Umar have Arabic called firosa, like sixth sense. He know the people. Just by looking, he know. You know how many times that people came to Medina going to kill Muhammad Sallallahu. Yeah. Who the first one discovers Umar. Umar can like he can he can smell it if somebody want to do the evil. Right? As many times happened. Even one day he was giving khutbah in Medina. Suddenly he changed the subject. He was calling the commander of the soldiers. He was in Rome, 1,000 miles. Ya Salfil Jabal, Sharia, go behind the mountain. And after 2 months, when Sharia came back, people asked him, you know, on Friday Umar was talking to you. Can you explain? We don't believe. He said, yeah, we were almost captured. We know the area, right? And I heard a voice like Umar and give us direction. Allah. Yeah, that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. So Umar, when he saw this boy, Hasan, he was boy at the time, he said this man had a great future. So he made dua. Allahumma faqihu fi din wa habib ilay nas. Allah make him, make this person to be faqih, to be expert, to understand religion deeply. And he was accepted his dua. Yeah. Or the Khalifa during that time when they have any question, he come to him. Yeah. And then he said, Habib ilay nas. Make people love him. Subhanallah. Everybody love him. Even his enemy. Right? And he was so handsome. He said that people, when their heart is harsh, they just look at him. They look at him, they become cool down. Yeah. So he was memorized Quran when he was very young. And also he was learned from many Sahaba. So that means he was lucky on that time because around him was the good people. Right? So you learn from here, number one, it is good when you meet as a parent, for example, when you meet a scholar, ask him to make dua for your children. I remember my father, when he met any great scholar, he always asked him to make dua for me. And he used to put his hand on my head. Yeah. Okay. Baro, are you there, Baro? Baro? Ahmad Ibrahim, Canada? Ahmad Ibrahim? Naira? Taqoma? Naira? Yeah.
I'm here. Al Hasan spent his early years with his family in Wadi al Qura near al Madinah before he was 14 years old. He managed to memorize the glorious Quran. He also learned reading, writing, and some mathematics. He heard many sayings of the companions of the Prophet, and he used to listen to the leader of the believers, Uthman ibn Affan. Whenever he delivered the Friday sermon, Al Hasan was 14 years old at the time.
Yeah. So number one, during his time, all the Sahaba are still alive. So he learned from, when you go to Medina on the time, there are many corners there. For example, I want to study about Hadith, right? So we have, for example, Abdullah bin Umar. I want to study about Tafsir, Abdullah bin Abbas. Yeah. So anytime you come to masjid, you see in different corners there's a knowledge you can learn. Yeah. And learning face to face is more effective. It affects you more than just learning, the reading book, because you can learn also from the the character of the teacher. Yeah. Okay. I call again Aliyah there, Aliyah.
Yeah, when he was 15 years old, Al-Hasan moved to Basra, Iraq in 36 AH. 656 AC, he began learning jurisprudence, hadith, and the Arabic language at the hands of a large number of the companions of the Prophet who were living in Basra at that time. His tutor for the recitation of the glorious Quran was Hasan ibn Abdullah al-Rikoshi, while his tutor for the methodology of delivering sermons, religious speeches, and recounting religious tales was Ibn Suroi at-Tamimi, the poet.
MashaAllah, that's good. So Basra is one of the city in Iraq, am I right? There's two cities very famous. There's three. Basra, Kufa, and Baghdad. Right? And all this because before this city become the center of knowledge. When you want to learn knowledge, you come to this place, especially Basra. Right? You know, as we know that Abdullah bin Abbas used to be governor in Kufa, so he controls Basra. Abdullah bin Umar, many Sahaba, they like to live in Basra. And also the weather is good there. Yeah. So there where Hasan Basri was grew up. Yeah. We learn from here also it is very important that sometimes you have to travel to learn knowledge. Like Musa alayhi salam, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him to travel. He is the mighty of the Prophet. But for a certain way, he have to travel with his servant. Yeah. And if you read the story about the old Imam Shafi'i, he traveled to Egypt, traveled to Yemen, all the places in order to seek knowledge. Yeah. Janine?
Delivering sermons and recounting religious tales appealed to Al-Hasan, and he took a place in the mosque of Al-Basra to teach people. Many storytellers back then tended to exaggerate. They were all banned from telling religious tales in the mosque of Al-Basra, except for Al-Hasan, who had adopted a different methodology. He used to talk about the life after death, reminding people of death, drawing their attention to religious and moral defects they may have, and how they could overcome them according to what he had learned from the Book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Prophet, and the revered companions.
Yeah. So he was very good in delivering a sermon, a khutbah, was very eloquent. It means he said that if he want to give lecture, for example, from Isha to Fajr, people will just open like this. No one is sleeping. Why? Because he can knock people out. When he talk about something that said about Jahannam, everybody cry. He used to cry also a lot. Sometimes just one word and he like vented. You know, oh, close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. So therefore, it is very important that we learn from here to learn how to deliver speech, because the Quran mentions Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran khalaqal insan allamahul bayan. God did bayan. You know, people can. So therefore, when you give presentation, this is also practice for you. Yeah, how to give in the front of people. And it's not easy. Sometimes we have to practice. I remember my teacher in Indonesia. You know, one day I come to, my father asked me to visit him. He's a scholar. And then before I knocked the door, I heard he was giving lecture. And after finished, the door open, there's nobody there. Only chair movement. So he was practicing. Even great scholar, something we need also to practice before you talk to the people. Yeah. Okay. We're done.
Al-Hasan al-Basri had a large class in the Mosque of al-Basra in which he taught people the juris- jurisprudence, the glorious Quran, the Arabic language, and rhetoric. He also conducted a special class in Islam to teach people asceticism and deliver touching speeches.
Yeah, like I mentioned, you know, whatever field it is about fiqh, about aqidah, about Arabic language, khutbah, giving lecture. Yeah, who's the best on that time? He's the master. He's the best. Yeah, so it's very important that inshallah, you grow up, you study the tafsir, study the hadith. It's very important. Yeah, you can be engineer, you can be doctor, but at the same time also try, because when you study Islamic knowledge, you feel different. When you pray, when you do something, you know, you can read Quran, you know, but you don't touch your heart until you understand. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. Allah repeated 30 times to ask question. Why repeat 30 times? And you study it, then and next time you read that one, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. You'll be different. Even Inna Atayna, that you surah that you love it because very short. Inna Atayna Kal Kautsar. If you understand deeply, you will love that surah. Love it because it's a short, right? But love because the meaning is very, yeah. Okay. Jannah, is there Jannah? Jannah. Rosita. Rosita. Safia. Haris.
Assalamualaikum.
Read, please.
Al-Hasan was one of the most knowledgeable people on jurisprudence and the lawful and unlawful acts. He loved the religion of Allah, and he was a pious man who used to refrain from committing any illegal act. He adhered to the straight path in all his affairs. He shouldered the responsibility of guiding and advising people to save his society from the deviations and aberrations that were beginning to prevail. Al-Hasan al-Basri adopted the doctrine of the companions. He was their student, and he had the pleasure of accompanying them. He was influenced by their methodology, and he steered their course.
So therefore, why many people said, man, he is Sahabi, man, because his character is the same like Umar, like Ali, like Abu Bakr, right? Embodiment, because that's what he learned. Yeah, and also he expert in jurisprudence, that means in fiqh, because fiqh is very important. That this is uh, the connection with Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, right? Because in order to do worship in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, you have to know the fiqh. You have to know, for example, what the condition of salat, what the pillar of salat, right? And also fasting and many things. Yeah. Yeah. Also, the fiqh talk about many things, about social, about politics. Yeah. The judge of Basra. Yeah. Zaid, are you there, Zaid? Zaid, help me.
Al-Hasan al-Basri used to frequently advise the rulers and governors, and he never feared anybody except Allah. He was especially well known in the last years of the reign of the Umayyad Caliph, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. Al-Hasan lived in Iraq, where Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf at-Thaqafi was a ruler, and Al-Hasan used to severely criticize Al-Hajjaj's policies.
One of his character, he did not fear except Allah. This is very important, because Allah the one who gives life and death. Hajjaj, one of the governor in Baghdad, he was a butcher. He killed a lot of people. So one day he built a palace. He invited people. Yeah. Oh, many people came, ministers, soldiers, right? He was very proud. He asked them, oh, everybody was praising him. When he asked Hasan, he said, oh, Hajjaj, what are you going to say on day judgment when you stand before Allah, before God? And God will ask question, where does money come from? You build this palace when there is orphans, couldn't eat. There is widows. And he couldn't say nothing because he embarrassed a lot of people. And he gave lecture. He ran with the Quran, with the ayah. Everybody was like this. The security like this. If Hajjaj asked security said, kill him, they will kill him. But Hajjaj, sometimes he couldn't say nothing because there's about guests, Muslim, non-Muslim there. So he left. After everybody left, he called his security. He get mad. How dare you just be quiet? Why didn't stop him? Everybody, bring him here. And he planned to kill him. So they took Hasan Basri, and then he entered the palace, and Hajjaj was. But as soon as he see him, he changed. Stood up. Ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Welcome, ya Imam Hasan. You are a great scholar. You have to continue with your dawah. Even before he left, he gave him beautiful oil, perfume. So after maybe half hour and he left, the security was chasing him. He said, Imam, can I ask a question? He said, what? I couldn't believe what happened. So what happened? He's going to kill you. He was angry yesterday. He promised to kill you. He said, no. I saw you when you entered the palace. Your lip was moving. What did you say? I just say, Ya Allah. I call his name, Ya Qawi, Ya Mateen, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. As you meet the fire cooled and saved Ibrahim, please also make his anger cooled. He said, yes, God answer your dua. That was Hasan. Yeah? Sometimes when you are in situation, you go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. Okay, Misbah, are you there, Misbah? Misbah? Nabil?
Wait, I'm here.
Misbah, is there? Wait, read this.
Al-Hasan al-Basri was a close friend of the rightly guided Umayyad Caliph Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who loved him very much and used to consult him in some affairs related to administering the Muslim state. Al-Hasan became the judge of al-Basra in 102 AH, 720 AC, and performed this role on a voluntary basis.
Anybody know what AH means? AH? Anybody?
After Hijrah.
After Hijrah, that's good. After Hijrah, that's AH. Yeah. So Hasan Basri, he was very close with Umar bin Aziz. We talked about Umar bin Aziz last time, right? He is very just ruler. He was pious. When he became Khalifa, even the wild animal was playing with the children because he was so. People going to give charity, zakat, nobody would like to accept. Everybody was enough, right? So he liked Hasan Basri. He used to have gathering, and Hasan Basri give lecture. Everybody was crying, yeah. Okay, Abdullah Hasan. Abdullah. Abdullah Hasan. Okay, Fuad. Fuad.
I'm here. Imam al-Hasan al-Basri was a peerless scholar with vast knowledge. He was eloquent and ascetic and a pious worshipper who used to fast many voluntary days. When he recited the glorious Quran, he would weep until his tears flowed down his cheeks, reflecting the extent to which he was deeply influenced by the holy book. He was also a courageous fighter who loved to perform jihad in the way of Allah. Whenever al-Muhallab ibn Abi Sufra fought the polytheists, he used to put him in the front line.
You know, some people sometimes they are expert. They have a lot of knowledge, you know, but in practice. This is why people left Al Hassan, because he didn't see him only have deep knowledge, but he's practicing. You never miss pray at night. He used to cry, you know. And also he's not only alim, but also he's mujahid. He joined the battle. Yeah, he had good characteristic. He always smiled. He was nice to the people. Yeah. Okay, Nabil. Are you there, Nabil? Jasmine? Okay, Nabil, okay, continue.
Al-Hasan was greatly admired and esteemed by his contemporary scholars. Abu Burda said, I have never seen a man who did not accompany the companions of the Prophet, yet this poem like this scholar, meaning Al-Hasan, Abu
Qatada?
Al-Abdawi said, follow this scholar, I have never met a man who had similar opinion. Adao said, follow this scholar, for I have never seen a man who had similar opinion to Umar ibn al-Khattab except him.
MashaAllah. This is the opinion of the people. Right? They said, follow him. If you not living during Umar time, just look at Hasan Basri. It's like him. MashaAllah. Yeah? Okay, Jasmine?
Yes.
Yes, read please.
Abu Qatada also said Al-Hasan and Al-Basri was one of the most knowledgeable people in lawful and unlawful acts. Umar and Yuba said, we have never seen a man more decent and encounters with Al-Hasan and Al-Basri. They also said, we have seen majors and then was knowledgeable, and Hasan al-Basri also said, I never seen a man who had more about leading to paradise except Al-Hasan.
Yeah. SubhanAllah. This is the opinion of the great scholar, right? So this is the proof that he is really one of the great scholars on that time. Yeah. Alfita? Alfita, you there? Rayhana? Rayhana?
Yeah.
Read, please.
Okay. Son of Adam, you will never find the reality of Iman as long as you fault people for doing what you yourself are guilty of, until you clear yourself of that fault and correct it. Then you will not correct a fault in yourself, except that you will notice another. So your occupation will become correcting yourself. And this is the most beloved thing to Allah when you are like this.
MashaAllah. Yeah, this is the saying of Hasan. Yeah. So you admitted your faults. So therefore, when you do something wrong, you come back to Allah, you admit it. Like Adam said, Rabbana dhalamna, God is my fault. Allah love it. Yeah. Because Iblis did not admit. Okay. Nia Amni.
Whoever is happy, satisfied with what Allah has apportioned for him, it will suffice him and Allah will bless it for him. But whoever is not satisfied, then what is apportioned for him will not suffice him and it will not be blessed.
Yeah. In Arabic called qana, ridho. Allah satisfies. This my how I look like. This my parent. This my house. This my clothes. Be satisfied. Allah will love you, and you're going to be happy in this life. Yeah. Lutfia.
May Allah have mercy on the man who works for the likes of this case. For today you are able to do what these brothers of yours, residents of these caves, cannot do. So make full use of your health and free time before the day of distress and accounts come upon.
Yeah. So Alhamdulillah, you're still young. Use your youth when you are in good health for the good thing. Yeah. Before it's too late. Yeah. Andrew. Nora.
The intelligent person's tongue is behind his heart when he wants to speak. He first thinks. If his words will be in his favor, he says them. If they will be against him, he does not speak. And the ignorant person's heart is behind his tongue. When he merely thinks of saying something, he says it, whether it is for him or against him.
Yeah. You know, people never feel regret. Yeah. Before he say. Mostly when we feel regret, oh man, why did I say that? So therefore, before you say anything, because in the hadith said one word can bring you to Jannah. You make somebody else happy. One word can bring you to hellfire. Because maybe you're hurting the people. Yeah? Yeah. So that's a few saying of Hasan al-Basri. Yeah. So inshallah we'll elaborate inshallah in the end. But now would like to invite Ibrahim Rashid to give you a presentation.
Yep. Give me a second, Joban.
Yeah. Take your time.
My topic is the mercy of Allah and seeking His forgiveness. So let me present it. Okay. So it's my topic, as you already see. So first off, I want to show the importance of it, which the Quran shows many times in the prophets as examples of them committing a sin to then immediately turn to Allah for forgiveness. Two really iconic examples that I'm pretty sure many people know are Adam alayhi salam and Yunus alayhi salam. And since the Quran should be taken as a book of lessons, we should always follow their example, no matter how redundant or repetitive the stories are told. To add on to the points of Allah's mercy, it's reported by Anas bin Malik, the Prophet ﷺ said that all the children of Adam are sinners, and the best sinners are those who repent. This shows a common quality among the best of humanity is turning to Allah and asking for His forgiveness. For my last ayah for emphasizing the importance of seeking Allah's forgiveness, An-Nisa, ayah 106 states, "And seek Allah's forgiveness. Indeed, Allah is all forgiving, most merciful." As I said, the Quran is a guidance, so it should always take its lesson, no matter if it's repeated plenty of times, because it's always important. So a mindset that is terrible in terms of Allah's mercy is thinking that Allah can't forgive your sins because of how many sins you have. So so in Surah Az-Zumar, ayah 53, they say, O Prophet, that Allah says, O my servants who have exceeded the limits against their souls, do not lose hope in Allah's mercy. For Allah certainly He is indeed the all-forgiving, most merciful. Allah specifically mentioning, O my servants who have exceeded the limits, shows that this ayah is referring to people who've sinned. And another thing, a hadith that supports the vastness of Allah's mercy, states, when Allah decreed the creation, He pledged Himself by writing in His book, which is laid down with Him, my mercy prevails over my wrath. So Mohamad that the wrath of Allah, which is the very driving force for His punishment, is weaker than His mercy. So So by that logic, shouldn't you have more confidence in something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is stronger? Which to end off with that, a little quote from I'm pretty sure Imam Joban, when in his presentation of Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he mentioned that a quote from him was, there are two fears that are destructive: self-amazement and the despairing of Allah's mercy. So the thought, so in here, when they put in the despairing of Allah's mercy, when you are to think that Allah won't have the mercy to forgive your sins, that in itself is a sin. Therefore, you shouldn't do it. So while I've told about the vastness of Allah's mercy, as much as it is great, it's not infinite. Like how in Surah An-Nisa, ayah 18, it says, however, repentance is not accepted from those who knowingly persist in sin until they start dying and then cry, now I repent. Nor those who die as disbelievers. For them, we have prepared painful punishment. So this really more emphasizes on that we shouldn't procrastinate when we seek for Allah's mercy, for since at the time when we die is completely unknown to us. I want to go on about this point. For hadith reported by Abu Hurairah says, he who repents before the sun rises from the west, Allah will forgive him. So the sun rising from the west is considered to be one of the major signs before the Day of Judgment, which is the time to be is completely unknown. So we should always be seeking Allah's forgiveness, no matter what, because we still don't know when we will no longer have that chance to ask Him for His mercy. Going back to Surah An-Nisa, ayah 48 this time. Indeed, Allah does not forgive associating others with Him, but forgives anything else of whoever He wills. And whoever associates others with Allah has indeed committed a grave sin. So, this really just stresses more that shirk, that this shirk specifically, which is associating others with Allah, is a terrible sin. So, it's better to end off with having high hopes in Allah's mercy. So instead of instead of taking these limits as reasons to despair in Allah's mercy, instead it's better to take them as cautions of what to avoid. So now, of course, knowing the importance of Allah's mercy or forgiveness is useless if you don't know how to seek it. So here's some basic methods you could say. Of course, I'm pretty sure most people know reciting astaghfirullah, reciting Rabbi ghfirli, like in your dhikr after prayer. Those work just fine. And while they're very small, they do in fact have Allah forgive you, which that in itself should already make you do it. Now another one is wudu, or doing ablution, which is why you should also try to perfect your wudu. As I said, it washes away your minor sins. To end off my presentation, I didn't really know where to put this except then, but I'll give a reminder to everybody that Muhammad was guaranteed Jannah. And yet, he still sought for Allah's mercy daily, always saying astaghfirullah, constantly. So, it's obvious that for us, who we don't even know if we are guaranteed to be in Jannah, we should also follow his example in doing of starting for Allah's forgiveness daily. And that's my presentation. So thank you for listening, I guess.
Inshallah, great job, Ibrahim. Yes, very important subject. We learn from here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is no one like Allah. You know how your mother loves you so much, your father loves you much? Compared to Allah, nothing. Allah loves us more than us. Allah knows we are weak if we made a mistake, but He loves when you come back to Him. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, ask forgiveness. He said He's more happy than like somebody lost in the desert. You know, his camel, you know, he couldn't find his camel, his food all was there. And then he slept. He goes, I'm going to die, khalas. Because you know direction. Why is it? When he woke up, his camel there. How is he happy? He's very happy, right? But Allah happiest than this person when somebody asks forgiveness. Yeah. So never despair. Yeah. Okay, now Izya Suklan, are you ready, inshallah?
Yes, I am ready. I will screen share. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, very good.
Okay. So hello, my name is Isaias, and I will be presenting on the signs of the Day of Judgment. As you may know, there are very many signs to the Day of Judgment, but I will cover a few of the major signs. So the first sign I'll be talking about is the trumpet, and I think it's the biggest sign of the Day of Judgment. You will hear the angel Israfil will blow the trumpet from the dome of the rock, and it will be heard across the world. At the first trumpet, everyone will die, but at the second, they'll be reawakened and be ready for judgment, the Day of Judgment. So in Surah Az-Zumar, we see a reference to the trumpets where it says, وَنُفِخَ فِي أَصُورِ فَصَعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ ثُمَّ نُفِخَ فِيهِ أُخْرَى فَإِذَا هُمْ قِيَامٌ يَنْظُرُونَ. And this means that the trumpet will be blown, and all those in the heavens and all those on the earth will fall dead, except those Allah wills to spare. Then it will be blown again, and they will rise up at once, looking on in anticipation. Similarly, in Surah An-Naml, we see another mention of the trumpets. وَيَا وَمَا يُنْفَخُ فِي أَصْفِي سُورِ فَزِعًا مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ وَكُلٌّ أَتَوْهُ دَاخِرِينَ. And again, this means, and beware the day the trumpet will be blown, and all those in the heavens and all those on the earth will be horrified to the point of death, except those Allah wills to spare, and all will come before Him fully humbled. And these are the mentions to one of the biggest sign of the Day of Judgment, the sound of the trumpets echoing across the world. Another sign, one of the biggest signs, will be the appearance of Ad-Dajjal. Ad-Dajjal is said to be a young man with one eye, and he will be able to perform several miracles, tricking many into following him. In other religions, you might call him an antichrist. So he will travel from city to city, gaining many followers, and he will claim to be God, and the Jews will be his supporters. His reign will continue for 40 years or 4 days until the return of Prophet Isa, which I will talk about in the next slide. In a hadith, Prophet Mohamad said that those who learn the first 10 ayat of Surah Al-Kahf will be protected against the harms of Al-Dajjal. And I chose not to include an image of him because I think it's quite frightening if you choose to look up what he looks like. And this is one of the big signs of the Day of Judgment. Now, Dajjal will bring chaos and terror to the world, but to follow that, Prophet Isa will return and bring an end to this era of war and chaos. And he will slay Dajjal. It's said that Isa will return in yellow robes to the east of Damascus, joining others in prayer. Prophet Isa will bring peace and continue an era of Islam and justice. Eventually, Prophet Isa will die and he will be buried amongst other prophets. Another big sign of the Day of Judgment is Yajuj and Majuj. So originally they were sealed away by Zulkarnain, who was given the power to build an iron wall to detain them. Now Yajuj and Majuj are constantly digging away, trying to escape, but at the end of the day, the hole that they dig is filled up and they never make any progress day to day. But in the Day of Judgment, one of them will say inshallah, and they will be able to escape and cause havoc to the world. In Surah Al-Anbiya, it describes their terror. Hada idha fuhat yajuj wa majuj wa hum min kulli hadabin yansilun waqtaraba al-adhu al-haqqu idha hiya shakinsatun absaru alladhina kafaru ya walana qad kunna fi ghaflati min hadaba kunna dhalimin. And they will make the world a terrible place, but it is said they will appear during the time of Prophet Isa, where all the followers in Prophet Isa will head to the top of the mountain and pray for them to be destroyed. And they will be destroyed as many worms will come and eat them. And yes, these were the signs I decided to talk about. But of the other important signs that were mentioned is a black cloud of smoke, while Dukhan will cover the earth and intoxicate the people. 3 sinkings of the earth, 1 in the east, 1 sinking of the earth in the west, 1 sinking of the earth in Arabia, and the sun will rise from the west, and the beast, Dabat al-Ard, will come out of the ground and begin to talk to people. So, yes, this was my brief presentation on some of the signs of the Day of Judgment. Thank you.
MashaAllah, great job. Yes, Shukran. Yeah, it's very important. Rasulullah SAW mentioned, one of the signs of the hour, people forget about Dajjal. So every Friday, all the animals, small insects, they are scared. Yeah, because then the day of judgment will come, and the judgment will come suddenly without your preparation, right? So before we close, I would like to share. Hasan Basri was good in character. This is just an example. I'd like to share with you.
وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما والذين يبيتون لربهم سجدا وقياما
تقال العثار العظام به ويعود الهوى ككبش ذبيح بذكر
good manners. The heaviest thing in a scale of a believer in the day of resurrection is good manners. This is another hadith. إن الرجل لا يبلغ بحسن خلقه درجة الصائم القائم. A person will attain the status of someone who fasts every day, prays tahajjud every night because of his good manner. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells you that Inna min ahabbikum ilay. The most beloved to me, the people I love most, and they will be the closest to me in the day of resurrection. The people who have good manners. Those that you could approach them and talk to them. They are smiling. They are optimists. Have a positive attitude. Not complaining all the time. Not whining about everything. And the most hated of you to me. And they will be distant from me in the day of resurrection. Listen. Between two brothers. Oh, he said this and that. You know what he said? He said this is. He said, and he said this is. Who said? He said this is. Those who try to separate two loved ones, a person that the people like, or he is like to the people. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, just to let you know, هذا الدين is not just ibadah and khalas. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was told about a woman who prays, who fasts, who does a lot of sadaqah, but she is mean to her neighbor. قال هي من أهل النار, from the fire, from the people of fire. And another woman, she does not have whole a lot to give sadaqah, but she is good to her neighbors. She is good to her neighbors. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, هي من أهل الجنة. She's from the people of Jannah. Al-muflisu min ummati, the bankrupt from my ummah. Someone who will come in the day of resurrection. Salah, zakah, siyam, hajj في رواية. He compiled all type of hasanat. ولكن يأتي وقد شتم هذا. He insulted this person. قذف هذا. He slandered this person. What is going to happen? فيؤخذ هذا من حسناته. The person whom you slandered will take your good deeds in the day of resurrection. Brothers and sisters in Islam, be mindful of what you say. Be mindful of what you write. Be mindful. Be mindful. Because you will pay for it.
Imam Joban, you're muted.
There will be no class in 2 weeks. Yeah, so see you on January 6th. And on that time, we have 3 people that need to do presentation: Parel, Astrid, and then Adia. Yeah, so you have to be prepared for that. Okay. Yeah. So let me make dua, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La yadurru ma'asmi syai'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwas samiul alim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La yadurru ma'asmihi syai'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwas samiul alim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La yadurru ma'asmi syai'un fil ardi wa la fis sama' wa huwas samiul alim. Rabbi zidni ilman. Oh Allah, forgive my parents, have mercy on them. Let me be of service to them with kindness and compassion, and accept their deed and grant them Jannah. Amin. Rabbi gfirli wa liwalidayya warhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Wa sallallahu wasallam alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. So, inshallah, enjoy your break. Yeah.